Glad to know you're still with us. Lagos State has made a pivotal move in energy reform, with the governor signing the Lagos Electricity Bill 2024 into law. This legislation empowers the state to take control of its energy infrastructure, reduce reliance on the national grid, and ensure a stable 24-hour power supply. Well, joining me for more on this, I have Yemi Oke, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Professor of Energy and Electricity Law, University of Lagos. Thank you, Professor, for joining me today.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir. Now, what does the Lagos Electricity Bill 2024 mean for the state's energy landscape, compared to reliance on the national grid?
Well, it's a positive development, and I personally have received a lot of messages and calls congratulating us, particularly on the advocacy that started about 2000 thereabout after the first Lagos Air thing. We felt the way to go would be for states to take charge of their electricity structure. And we also pointed out, even in my book, as far back as 2013, 2013, documented that states will need to start to exercise their constitutional powers under the then unamended constitution. That states have powers to regulate the electricity market, particularly for upgrade, both for generation, transmission, and distribution. Well, it took a while, of course, almost more than 10, 15 years of the advocacy, consistent advocacy, before we eventually had this kind of framework that the Lagos State government has worked out commendably. This wasn't the first attempt of the Lagos State government to regulate the electricity. They always tailored along the federal government regime. Lagos State government had the Lagos State Electricity Reform Law, which of course has been repealed with the new Lagos State Electricity Law signed into law recently.
Well,
and it wasn't something that started.
Yeah, go ahead. Maybe in 30 seconds, so we can move on. Professor, okay, if you can hear me, well, let me just say this. Lagos sort of seeks to integrate solar, wind, and gas-powered plants into its energy mix. No, this is commendable if you ask me, but then how does it hope to achieve this?
What I said was Lagos State government has been in the forefront of the decentralized electricity framework. It started years back in 1999, 2000 under the renewable regime, as Lagos State government. Then we've always had this idea, this policy, trying to break up from the federated grid. We've said that we can't be having a federated grid in the 21st century because we needed to go the way of state-based grid, regional grid, decentralized grid, and looking at all the energy options. That was what brought about the decentralized energy options, which means states should deploy their competitive advantage, including renewables. In Lagos, where we generate a lot of solid waste, that good for renewables. So Lagos should start to look in the direction of renewable electricity, solar. Those are the stuff we advocated. And Lagos State also to deploy its gas resources from the existing gas power plant in Lagos State. Lagos State have IPP projects in Ikeja and on the island. So Lagos State government is not just starting, it's been there. But now it's now trying to take the post by the horns in line with what we've always advocated. Which means if we're able to get it right in Lagos State, it naturally means other state government follow suit. Because the current enabling environment is such that it's positive. We have the enabling environment provided in the law, not only in the law, in the Electricity Act of Nigeria, as well as the 16th Amendment to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, Nigerians are now going to start looking in the direction of their respective state government for electricity. Because the current framework says, be it on-grid or off-grid, states have powers to regulate both generation, transmission, distribution, including services. And that's what Lagos State government has done. But I must have, beyond laws, because we tend to also talk about legal or regulatory subversive. Beyond the laws, we are hoping for a regime of effective sector governance, because power sector is essentially privatized and also now decentralized, meaning the role of government essentially is to bring on board effective sector regulation by an independent regulator. That's why I was happy, because we are waiting that Lagos State will eventually have what is called Lagos State Electricity Regulatory Commission. We're going to have Ogun State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Kano State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Bayelsa State, and this for all the state. This was predicted almost 20 years ago, and it's happening now. That's one delightful experience I've had.
Okay.
It's a sign of the need for me.
All right, still talking about
this. It's not just
this.
to have law. It's about effective governance and regulation. That's where the challenge lies.
Right. So very quickly, let's look at this now. Some of the identified bottlenecks since this decentralization conversation started sort of include funding, regulatory hurdles, or even technical expertise. Don't you think Lagos will face these same hurdles given its, maybe its sophistication and economic status? Do you think it will face the same hurdles, or does it have, maybe some sort of framework in place that will ensure that its experience will not be the same with some other states that have already started this journey?
We know the challenge of finance has always been there. We're not expecting state government to dig their hands into their statutory allocation or budgetary allocation for the power sector, because power is capital intensive. What we expect is for states to create solid enabling environment for a thriving power sector. There's a lot of money in the power sector because Nigerians will always consume electricity whichever way. Either they go by diesel, by solar, and other options, or inverters. So Nigerians will always consume electricity, both for homes and businesses. That's definitely. So states now will be tasked in providing enabling environment to make investing in their respective states bankable. Bankability means commercial assurance that investing in your state will not be a risk. Meaning, once I invest in your state, I'm going to recoup my investment with good yield. If we have those assurances in your state, it is almost natural that investors will come. Investors will always gravitate in the direction of profit. If they're able to make money in Lagos, they're going to come. If they're able to make money in Ogun State, they're going to come. If they're going to make money in Bayelsa, they'll go. If they're able to make money in Kano, they will invest. It's not a question of the handsomeness or how beautiful the governor or the minister or the commissioner in charge is. It's a question of how prudent you manage your resources. How transparent are you in terms of governance? Are you a state government that complies or respects its contractual obligation? It's not the kind of state where they try to jack up things and try to go for under the table days, making unnecessary demand on investors will not fly. They're going to leave your state and invest in other state.
Absolutely. So Professor, let me come in here. Let me come in here, Professor. I understand the part, where state governments have to ensure that the environment is comfortable, good enough, for investors to come in. But Nigerians, what Nigerians want, I know you will say investors want, a cost-reflective tariff, but then Nigerians want to know, does this decentralization equate to, cheaper electricity for consumers, or are we still going to pay higher for electricity? That's what consumers really want to know.
Naturally. Power, electricity is a question of demand and supply. If you have it, you pay for it. If you want 24 hours, you pay for 24-hour access. If you want 5 hours, you pay for it. That's why we advocate effective methods so that Nigerians can regulate or control their consumption pattern or trend. Nigerians will always consume electricity. It will always be cheaper to consume electricity by grid or off-grid from state. The alternative would be to go buy diesel or petrol or solar or inverter, which is not that cheap. So there will always be market. As we break up production, then it's a question of demand and supply. If supply outstrips demand, it's almost natural that prices start to go south. If demand outstrips supply, it's almost natural that prices start to go north. It's a natural reaction. And if you have a competitive power sector market, particularly in Lagos and elsewhere, if Disco A is not supplied, you go to Disco B. If Disco B is expensive, you go to Disco C. You're going to have the flexibility of options and alternatives. And that is what brings about stability and sustainability of the power sector. And the challenge will always be the regulatory environment. Who is there to regulate? The power sector is technical, it's engineering, it's law, it's accounting, it's taxation. Every aspect of the power sector is complicated and complex. We need knowledge-based sector regulation in Lagos State and other states. We've had laws in Nigeria, those laws were not properly implemented. We just started doing things correctly. Don't want that happen in Lagos. We expect Lagos State government to look for seasoned industry experts who fairly sincere and prudent in bringing about effective regulation, because Lagos State government is not a player, can't be a player. The only thing a government can do once you privatize the sector is to bring on board effective sector governance. And once you have effective sector governance and regulation, it's almost virtually sustainable that you want to get it right. And you start to follow the right place.
Right.
That's what I expect to see.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Yemi Oke, State Advocate of Nigeria, and Professor Energy and Electricity Law, University of Lagos. Thank you for your time on the show today.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.